So Pete, a question we get from a lot of people about stock market risk is, what is sequence of returns? It's a term a lot of people have heard online. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I'm just going to give you a real simple example of what that is, but essentially you can look at a complicated version or a simple version. I'm going to give you the simple version if that's okay. The sequence of returns means, first of all, when you retire, you don't know what the sequence of stock market returns is going to be. Are they going to be all up years for the next 10 or 20? Are they going to be down years? Is it going to be some of both? So that's what the word sequence means, is you don't know what the future is. But let me just give you a very simple example on what the sequence of returns risk is regarding stock market risk. Let's say that you had $1 million, okay, in an IRA. You may have a whole lot more. You may have less. This is just an example for the sequence of returns risk. So let's say you have $1 million and you've been reading online and you say, hey Pete, I've been reading these articles and they say that I can take out about 4% per year as income. So I'm going to have $40,000 of my income come from this account and I can add it to my Social Security and pension and whatever else I have in my retirement income situation. So if this was going to be at $1 million and or always growing higher, you would be in fantastic shape. But sometimes what happens when we don't know the future is it turns out different than we expected. So let's say the market goes down 50% and now you have 500,000. Now, this has happened twice in the last 25 years. The market went down and it went down big. So now if you have $500,000 and you still want 40,000 of income, this means that you will have to take out 8% on the account, because 8% of 500,000 is 40 versus only taking out 4%. So the real simple question to you is, what do you think is going to happen to your account if it goes down big or half and you have to take out a higher percentage to get the same income? And the problem is simply that you run the risk, most likely, of running out of money prematurely, because when the market's down, you're selling at a loss to maintain that income. So you can watch our other videos that deal with this also, with the rule of 100 and stock market risk. But simply stated, the sequence of returns problem is, if you're heavily dependent on a stock market account to provide all the income. Now remember, if you're retired or retiring soon, the older you and I get, we have less time. So we have less time to adjust and come back from big stock market losses. So the problem is, whatever money you have, if you're heavily dependent on that stock market account to provide income, if we have a big market downturn and you still need to pull that income out from there, now you have to take an increased percentage from the account just to maintain the same income. And there is the problem. You're taking out a higher percentage, which is going to deplete the account faster, and you run the risk of running out of money. That is what the sequence of return problem is in retirement. And it's the problem a lot of people have that they're not aware of, because we've had so many up years in a row that people have grown and become complacent.
So Pete, what you're saying is, depending on what the market's doing at the time you're withdrawing, it can have very adverse effects on your portfolio if you're selling at a loss when the market's down.
Yeah, exactly. It could ruin your whole retirement. I mean, that's the whole thing here. This is really, money is the thing that allows us to spend time with our loved ones, our kids, our grandkids, do the things you've been waiting 40 years to do. The last thing we want to happen is you get into retirement, market plummets, now you're having to pull more money out, you're selling at a loss, and you're going to run out of money prematurely and completely wreck your whole retirement. My goal, whether we ever work together or not, is to give you information that can actually help stabilize what you're doing. And for a lot of people, I like to use these simple examples. Maybe they're silly, but a lot of people that we work with love to go on cruises. And they're on this big cruise boat having a great time. And a lot of times I ask people when I'm talking to them, I say, did you realize what the cruise boat does to stabilize the ride? They have these huge things that come out in the water and they actually stabilize the whole boat. And if you didn't have that, if you were having a drink or some food and your plate was on a table, oftentimes it would go sliding off. Well, the reason you don't have that problem, and most of the time you have a pleasurable ride, is because you have a stabilizer that the boat is putting out in the water. You can't see it, it's underwater, but it makes the whole ride more enjoyable, more stable, and you're having a great time with your loved ones. That's exactly what we're trying to do with people's accounts. And if you don't take care of this problem, you run the risk of running out of money prematurely.
So Pete, we've talked about sequence of returns and stock market risk. What else can people do to stabilize their retirement?
Well, that's an excellent question. And I think, first of all, the answer that we always talk to people about is the word balance. And I'll show you exactly what I mean in just a moment. But most of us agree that the older you and I get, we have less time. So the older we get, we have less time to recover from big stock market losses. So if we're talking about your kids or grandkids, then it would be like stocks only, because the one thing that they have that I don't have is they've got so much time. So that's the biggest difference. So with limited time, as we get older, it becomes more about balance. So we have basically three buckets here. We've got money in the bank or the credit union. We've got money with an insurance company that's safe, guaranteed, and protected, and then keeping good dividend paying stocks. And usually the answer is a balance of the three. But what specifically, like in my cruise ship example, using the stabilizer to stabilize the ride, here's what we do, and I'll show you why we use this to stabilize the retirement. Very simply, we know that the stock market goes up and down, up and down. And one of the things that we use, and we love having money in the good dividend paying stocks in the stock market, we actually use Schwab as our custodian, and we believe in having a decent, good amount of money there based on your risk tolerance and your age. But for the money that you want safe, guaranteed, and protected, we can't get that in the red bucket with stocks and bonds. We can't get that guaranteed. So when we want guarantees, we use this account we call the green line. It's an FIA, which stands for a fixed indexed annuity. Now, if you watch my other videos, there are some annuities I really don't like. I do like the fixed index annuity, and I'll show you exactly why. So the way that this account works is when the stock market goes up, your account will go up. If the stock market goes down, your account will stay even or stay level. When the market goes up, you go up. Market goes down, you stay even. Now, a lot of people will say, well, Pete, that sounds too good to be true. What are the trade-offs? Well, there's not one trade-off, there's two. So let me go over those with you. Number one, this account has a time commitment. And the time commitment is usually 7 to 10 years. It's usually 7 to 10 years. There are a few that are shorter, there's some are longer. Usually we stick to 7 to 10 years for a reason which I'll cover later. But along the way, you are allowed to withdraw 10% from the account each and every year if you want to. You don't have to, but you can take a 10% penalty-free withdrawal along the way. If you were to pass away during the time commitment, the entire account will go to your beneficiary. The time commitment is erased. So after the time commitment is up, you can come and take all your money out, 100%, and move it anywhere where you like. The second trade-off is there is a cap. Let's say your cap is 10%. Let me tell you how that works. Just like where you are or where I am right here, there is a floor, there is a ceiling. So your floor in this account is 0. You can never lose money. There is a ceiling on how much you earn. So when the market goes up, you're not going to necessarily get the full gain of the market. You'll get part of it. So for example, let's say you have a cap of 10%. If the market's up 5, they're going to give you 5%. If it's up 8, they're going to give you 8. If it's up 10, they're going to give you 10. But if it was up 12, how much are they going to give you?
10.
They're going to give you 10. So you have a cap. So the two trade-offs with this account is there is a time commitment, 7 to 10 years on average. You can withdraw 10% penalty-free each and every year. If you pass away, the entire account will go to your beneficiary, and after the time commitment is up, you can come take all your money out. The other thing is there's a cap. So with this account, you are always going to earn 0 to 10%. Now that cap, depending on the company and the product, length of time could be higher, could be lower, it just depends. This is just for example. The other thing a lot of people are very surprised to learn is that most of these accounts, not all, there are a couple of exceptions, most of these accounts have no fees, okay? Why is that? Well, when you have a time commitment, you forego the need to pay fees. So if you have a CD at the bank, as you know, you generally do not have any type of fee with a CD. But does the bank still make money? Yes. Are they still able to earn a profit? Yes, because you have a time commitment and they can use the money during that time period. It's the same here with the green line or the fixed index annuity. The companies are able to make a fair profit. They pay an advisor a fee for helping the client. And then an advisor like ourselves, we do an annual review with the client each and every year to review this account. This is one of the things that we use to stabilize someone's portfolio. So here's why. The 3 types of money, in summary, you have the blue money in the bank. We want plenty of money in the bank for you, for liquidity, for healthcare needs, to help your family, help with a wedding, for whatever purpose, you need enough money in short term, and that's very important. But if you have everything in the red line, and we just talked about the sequence of returns problem, meaning if the market goes way down and you're pulling out money while it's down, you run the risk of running out of money prematurely. So how do we solve that problem? By having some in the blue line, some in the green, and some in the red.
So Pete, what are your recommendations as far as withdrawing from what account if the stock market is up or if the stock market's down? Where would you pull from?
Yeah, well, the great thing about having a plan that's balanced is it's very, very simple. We have a 3-bucket plan and we see what percentage you should have where. So let's say, for example, someone comes to us and they say, Pete and Andrew, we want to go on a world cruise. We want to take some money out, or we want to build a beach house, or we want to buy a mountain cabin. We want to do something that takes a substantial amount of money. So if the stock market is way up, well, for obvious reasons, to take some of the gains off the table, we might pull from the red line. But if the market's way down, well, we don't want you as our client to sell at a loss. So we're going to have you pull from either the green or the blue line where you're not losing money. On the other hand, if the stock market's way down, which we haven't seen in a while, and you want to take advantage of buying some good stocks at a discount, we could also take some money from the green or the blue line to go back into the red line when you're at the bottom. But what you want is options. You want the freedom to make a decision where to pull money that's going to be best for you and your family, so you're not selling at a loss just to fund your retirement. You want the balance to be able to pull from the green line, the red line, or the blue line. You want to be able to do what's best for you.
So Pete, when looking at stock market risk, we want our clients to have a more balanced approach so we can look and choose where to withdraw from depending on what the market's doing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If the market's high and you want to make a big purchase, we're going to have you pull from the red line. If the market's down, then we've protected you with the green and blue. We're going to pull from the green or blue. So we want to make decisions that are going to benefit you and make sure that you don't run out of money prematurely. That was the whole problem that we're trying to solve. Just like my cruise ship example of the stabilizers, to make the ride more enjoyable, more pleasant, not having plates fly off the table. You want to have a good time on the cruise boat. You want to have a good time in retirement. If you have everything in one bucket, like the stock market bucket, because you're getting older, and me too, and we have less time, you want different options on where to be able to pull money from. You don't want to have to pull just from the stock market. You want to pull some from safety in the green or the blue line.
So Pete, what's the takeaway here? What can people do?
Well, it's really simple. What we try to do is just boil it down to 3 types of money, 3 different buckets. The blue money in the bank or credit union, the green safe money with the insurance company, and the red the money in the stock market. And really, it's not really about one bucket, it's about having the right balance or the stabilizer in all 3. So some people might ask me, well, how much should I have in each bucket? And it depends. We'd have to ask you some questions first. Look at your risk tolerance, look at your age, what you want to accomplish in retirement, but then we can help you build a plan that's very simple, easy to understand, and then monitor it along the way.
So Pete, what do people have to do to get some one-on-one help?
So as you know, we do this for our existing clients already, but if you are interested in watching this video and getting some help, we just have a couple of requirements. Number one, you have at least $1 million or more in investable assets. And number two, if you have an existing advisor, you're open to making changes. So if that sounds like you, go ahead and click the link down below and schedule a call.